Of the many milestones that represent any America's Cup cycle, the launch of new boats is one of the most exciting. One by one, years of work, tens of thousands of man-hours of design, build and fit out are revealed. As the curtains are drawn back on each one, you can almost feel the wave of nervous expectation flood out from the base as each team's new machine is revealed to the world. After years of secrecy, there's no hiding now. This is a big moment for everyone. But this time there's even more at stake, because unlike many previous Cups, teams are only allowed to build one AC75. Not only that, but even if they have a spare, they're not allowed to do any two-boat testing or even line up against another team in a friendly. Instead, whether you're a challenger or defender, you're on your own for the next 3 months. And that means pressure. Be it sliding out through the team-based doors or dropping the skirt. Be it a fanfare or a private affair. Reveal day is a big day. The Swiss Alinghi Red Bull racing team were the first. In the weeks leading up to the launch, the Swiss had hinted that their new AC75 would be radical. And as we got a first glimpse, it was clear they were right. Alinghi Red Bull Racing are the first Cup team to reveal their weapon of choice for the 37th America's Cup. And the launch was done with the usual Alinghi flair. But for many Cup watchers, this was more than just a glitzy ceremony, because this is the first of a new generation. Now, for the boat christening, we're seeing her in the daylight. And the interesting thing is that the first impressions of this boat being quite extreme, gathered from the few images that we could see of her in the dark, turned out to be right. She certainly is extreme, and since she was first revealed, we've also had the benefit of seeing the Kiwi boat, which was launched next, and then Rossa, Prada, Pirelli. And compared to those two boats, this boat, certainly on the outside when you look at her hull, appears to be quite a lot more extreme. One of the first things to stand out is her topsides, particularly as you move further aft. Here, where it's sort of cut away, it just comes to an abrupt end and goes into a transom platform back there. But the topsides alone isn't what really grabs your eye. What really grabs your eye is what's happening just underneath here, because when you walk around the bottom of the boat, which we were fortunate enough to do on our route around into this press area over here, you get to see just how angular that hull is. The beam's pushed all the way out as far as it can, and the beam is carried a long way aft to give a very flat platform, if I can get it there, very flat platform in this area back here, and very wide too. Anyway, we're just going to get on with the christening. We're back in a tick. So what else stands out? First, there's a chine in the bow section. This could be to help with the bigger sea state in Barcelona. Her raised foredeck makes her look like a giant international moth. This could be an aerodynamic feature and or to satisfy the minimum volume restriction in the class rule. The small crew cockpits are a departure from last time, as there are now only 8 crew, including 4 cyclors. Below the waterline, there's a deep aggressive skeg that runs the full length of the hull. This is a key feature that makes the entire sailplan package more efficient, by creating an end plate effect and sealing the hull against the water's surface. This is very important when getting the boat up onto her foils. Next up, just 7 days later, Emirates Team New Zealand rolled their boat out of the shed. Ahead of schedule, even the locals were caught off guard. And if there's one boat that really matters, it's this one. Because if you want to win the America's Cup, this is the boat you've got to beat.
Today's a really important day for the team. It's been quite a few years to get to this point, and a huge amount of work from the design team, the build team, and also the shore team over the last 4 or 5 weeks for the fit out. Seeing it finally roll out of the shed and put the rig on, that's a major step forward. So it's really exciting. It's a good it's a good moment for the team, and it sort of signals the start of the final phase, really.
It's also worth remembering that their main focus is for October, when the America's Cup proper takes place. So in theory, their design focus will have been based on the weather conditions at this time. In contrast, the challengers have to design boats that will work across a wider range of conditions, from mid-August through to the end of October, as they fight out who's going to be the eventual challenger. Overall, it looks like a more modest approach than Alinghi Red Bull Racing. The skeg is shallower, less aggressive, and the bow has a fine entry with topsides that flare out quite quickly as you move aft. When you compare this to their previous 75, she's a more refined, slender-looking shape up forwards. The profile of the skeg is very similar to Alinghi in that it is flat in the forward sections and extends all the way to the stern. The sailing footage shows why this underside is so straight, as it runs parallel to the water's surface in order to achieve the best endplate effect. When it comes to her foils, there's not much to report here, as these are the ones they used in the last Cup and unlikely to be the ones that they'll use this time around. But aside from the reveal, to see them sailing so soon after launch was also impressive and says much for their quiet confidence. Given how important the psychological game is in the Cup, I wouldn't mind betting that being able to demonstrate this to the other teams was important to them.
Pretty incredible to be able to sheet on and just do a few falling tacks straight off the bat. But yeah, the boat felt really good. Felt quite like we predicted it too, which is always nice as well. And I mean, with the Cup, this is the exciting time, right? You get to see what everyone's been up to for the last 2 years. So yeah, to wheel it out of the shed, finally have it out in the open, and be testing and developing on it is incredible.
Following on from the Swiss and Kiwi launches, the Italians showed their hand as Rossa, Prada, Pirelli unveiled their new AC75. As the champagne bottle broke across the bow, the curtains fell away to reveal another stunning-looking Silver Dream machine. As you would expect from the style-conscious team, the boat is striking, and if her previous sister ships are anything to go by, she'll be a talking point right through the Cup for her looks alone. But what can we see in this design? The first thing to note is that the silver hull finish makes it much harder to pick out specific details. But overall, it's clear to see that she's a very rounded design and less aggressive in her topsides than Alinghi. Having said that, her shear line doesn't prescribe the same smooth aerodynamic arc that you see on the Kiwi boat. Instead, the structure has fared around her 4 cruise stations. But she also looks much fuller and beamier in her aft sections. It's believed that one of the areas that design teams have focused on this time around is in making sure that their AC75s can get onto their foils quickly in light breezes. One way of achieving this is to minimise the wetted surface area to keep drag down to a minimum. The Kiwi boat has sections that draw in towards the stern, presumably to keep the hull form narrow. And while both boats have flat runs aft, Rossa seems to carry her full beam further. On deck, the design is super clean and looks very much like the Kiwi boat. From the size and shape of the crew pods, it looks likely that the cyclors will also be in the 2 aft stations, the helmsman and trimmers in the forward 2 stations, just like Emirates Team New Zealand. Rossa also launched their boat with foils and a rig from the last Cup, so there's plenty more to come.
I mean, this boat is a new generation, it's the second generation of this rule, so it's quite different compared to 2021, to the 36 America's Cup. The boat has reduced in displacement by about 1 ton, and also the equipment that was 11 crew members passed to 4 crew members. Also in terms of power, it was hand power, now it's allowed to be bicycles on board. So the system has changed quite a bit since last Cup. And also the venue is quite different from New Zealand. New Zealand was quite a flat water. We are going to Barcelona, that is a venue with quite a sea state. So the boat has to also, in terms of design, has to take this in consideration. So They are not small, the changes that we have had from the last generation.
So, as the first 3 teams reveal their machines, the analysis and speculation has begun. But this is just the first stage in what is always a fascinating and exciting part of the Cup. And of course, there's still 3 more launches to go.
A sustainable future. Yanmar.